major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, June 1st. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The fallout from a ransomware attack at one of San Diego's largest healthcare providers is growing. We're learning some 150,000 Scripps Health patients may have had their data stolen during a cyber attack that was first reported a month ago. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live in the newsroom with the details. Matt, what can you tell us?
This is a huge development, Maya. Scripps Health officials have not been saying much about this ransomware attack that is still ongoing and impacting their systems. But now we know documents containing patient information were in fact stolen. Scripps officials are saying while medical records are not specifically impacted, quote, health information and personal financial information was acquired. Scripps adding in a statement that they're beginning to send out letters to some 147,000 patients so that they can take steps to protect their information. Officials are estimating less than 3% of patients had social security numbers and or driver's license information taken. For those people, Scripps will be providing free credit monitoring and identity protection services. The ransomware attack was first reported on May 1st, and it has caused major disruptions, forcing some appointments, blood work, and other procedures to either be outsourced, delayed, or canceled. Some cancer patients are still being treated at other local health systems. Scripps officials will not say what hackers are asking for in exchange for the stolen data. Now there's a very tedious manual review of documents happening to find the full extent of exactly what was taken. And that process we're hearing will take several months as Scripps officials work to notify those impacted by this security breach. In a statement released this afternoon, officials say they regret the ongoing concern this has caused patients and the community. And right now, teams are working overtime to enhance their information security system. Now, Scripps Health is assisting a federal law enforcement investigation, and while some systems are back up, it's still unclear now exactly a month into this attack when the healthcare system will be fully back online. Maya, will send it back to you.
The city is reminding people to give sea lions some space as today marks the start of pupping season. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on the efforts to keep La Jolla's sea lions safe.
I want to tell her I went to San Diego.
And what did you go see?
Sea lions.
5-year-old London Hawkins and her family traveled all the way from New Orleans to see the beauty San Diego has to offer. Her mom, Dominique Hawkins, says the sea lions in La Jolla were on top of their to-do list.
Just magnificent. We didn't realize we can get so close to them, so we're really excited about that.
The county is asking people to enjoy the sight of the sea lions and their pups, but from a responsible distance.
We have some signs today, but clearly the message is not coming out.
Council member Joe LaCava says the city is working with Parks and Recreation to add additional signage to remind visitors about pupping season.
The sea lions are much more aggressive and will defend themselves, and when you have the mothers and the pups, that just puts everybody on heightened alert.
LaCava says no major incidents have been reported. New signage is supposed to be added at La Jolla Cove and Boomer Beach in the coming weeks. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
President Joe Biden visited Oklahoma today to mark 100 years since the Tulsa race massacre. And as Camila Bernal reports, the president also announced new actions his administration will take to reduce the racial wealth gap.
President Joe Biden in Greenwood.
This land where we stand now is considered sacred ground.
The visit and the photographs.
You can see Black-owned businesses lining the streets,
memorializing the hundreds of Black Americans who were killed by a white mob in this Tulsa, Oklahoma neighborhood.
100 years and the first president to be here during that entire time. And in this place, in this ground, to acknowledge the truth of what took place here.
The president hearing directly from 3 living survivors. And not only looking back.
Words were exchanged. then a scuffle, then a shots fired. Hell was unleashed. Literal hell was unleashed. Through the night and into the morning, the mob terrorized Greenwood, torches and guns, shooting at will.
But also outlining his administration's efforts to combat racial inequality.
We must find the courage to change the things we know we can change.
The White House focused on help for minority-owned businesses and addressing racial discrimination in the housing market. And while many are thankful, activists also say more is needed.
People are ready and able, and the system is there, but we got a long way to go.
I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
And while President Biden marked the centennial of Tulsa massacre here in California, a task force convened for the first time to discuss reparations for African Americans. KPBS reporter Melissa May describes the task force's responsibilities.
A 9-person committee was created to study California's complicity in slavery, develop proposals of what reparations might look like for descendants of enslaved people, and determine who might get paid. Secretary of State Shirley Weber wrote the bill creating the committee while she was still an assemblywoman for the San Diego area.
And it is finally fulfilling the mandate of AB 3121 and holding its first reparations task force meeting, the first of any state in this nation. And so that makes it a historic moment for over the 400 years of African Americans in this country. We are here today because the racism of slavery birthed an unjust system and a legacy of racial harm and an inequality that continues today in every aspect of our life.
Weber's father was a sharecropper in Hope, Arkansas. She says he was denied the opportunity to grow economically because he was forced to harvest others' crops before his own.
Despite all of those honest efforts that were there, he was still being stepped on. And when he stood up for himself, his life was threatened. That's a story of African Americans in this country. That denial was not only done by individuals, but sanctioned by the government itself, which makes reparations in 2021 so very, very important.
The task force has 1 year to develop and create reparation proposals. Reparations may be direct cash payments, subsidized education or health care, or assistance for down payments on housing. Melissa May, KPBS News.
A U.S. citizen accused of captaining a smuggling boat that crashed near Point Loma, killing 3 people, is facing 24 counts. Antonio Hurtado was arraigned today on a federal grand jury indictment on charges including human smuggling and assault on a Border Patrol officer. 2 women and 1 man, all Mexican citizens, were killed when the boat capsized on May 2nd. Hurtado and 29 others were hospitalized. According to an affidavit, migrants aboard the boat said they paid up to $18,500 to be smuggled into the U.S. It is the latest in a series of Supreme Court decisions overturning rulings by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Today, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled in favor of the government in a case that decides how courts should rule on the credibility of asylum seekers' claims. In the cases being reviewed, 2 asylum seekers, one from China and the other from Mexico, feared persecution from their countries of origin, seeking permission to stay in the U.S. The Ninth Circuit Court previously ruled the claims to be credible.
And basically what the Ninth Circuit said was that we have to believe the alternative facts being offered by these immigrants. The United States Supreme Court said, no, you actually don't.
Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote that instead of presuming an asylum seeker's account to be fact, courts should review fact finders' work and presume credibility only if there is no, quote, explicit adverse credibility determination. Last week, the Supreme Court unanimously overturned 2 other Ninth Circuit rulings. 2 months ago, the San Diego region received over $200 million in state and federal funds to help low-income families pay their rent and utilities during the pandemic. But as iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Delaney explains, only 2% of the money had been spent as of mid-May.
Local governments in the San Diego region are running into the same problems they encountered during rent relief efforts last year. The application process is slow, and some landlords still won't take the money. For renter Janaea Wall, who lost income last year, she's $14,000 behind in rent for her City Heights apartment. She got approved for rent relief, but it took more than 2 months. During the wait, her type 2 diabetes worsened.
So it's just like, you know, I went through this, and I think it's just the stress of everything just shows out in your body in ways you don't think it's going to.
The rent relief wipes out most of her debt, but she's still on the hook for $4,000. And she doesn't know when she'll be able to pay rent on her own again.
We shut down overnight, but we're not gonna make money overnight. You know, it's impossible. It's gonna take 6 months to a year, at least 6 months to a year, minimum, to get back at least, I'm gonna say 60% where we were before COVID shut down.
Then you have some landlords refusing the aid. When that happens, state law says tenants get a quarter of what they owe and are protected from eviction. But landlords can't get any rent relief if their tenants won't participate. Lucinda Lilly with the Southern California Rental Housing Association says that's not fair.
Right now, if a renter says, no, I'm not willing to participate, we're just left holding the bag.
To help tenants and landlords, Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed changes to improve the program. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Dulaney.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. With COVID cases dropping across the nation, life is slowly returning to normal. But as Daryl Forges reports, with the threat of new variants, there is still concern over the potential risks for those who are still unvaccinated.
Some good news in the Big Apple.
This is the level of COVID positivity today in New York City, 0.83%. 0.83%, the lowest we've seen ever since this pandemic began.
New York isn't alone. Nationwide, the 7-day new COVID-19 case average is dropping, and more cities are reopening, like Las Vegas.
It's just been super strange going from not being allowed to be in public anywhere, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, everybody's outside.
While many Americans are removing their masks and returning to some type of normalcy, health experts are urging people not to let their guard down and to get vaccinated.
We still are at risk of variants in this country. The more people are vaccinated, the more protected we are.
The CDC says more than half of the U.S. population has now been at least partially vaccinated. Moderna announced Tuesday it is applying for full FDA approval for its COVID-19 vaccine in people ages 18 and up. Health experts say that will have a big impact once it's approved.
I think getting to the populations that are reluctant, that are hesitant, that are still waiting for more information, again, once the vaccine gets full approval, we're going to be able to reach another percentage of them.
After more than a year of loss, suffering, and isolation, many Americans are ready to move forward.
It feels good, though, to be back free.
In Atlanta, Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
And if you haven't been vaccinated yet or need to help a family member find a shot, we have all the information that you need on our website. Just click on the vaccines link on our homepage at kpbs.org to find a location that's close to you. The recall campaign targeting San Diego City Council President Jen Campbell has failed. Backers of the recall campaign say they gathered more than 10,000 signatures, about 4,000 short of what they actually needed to force a special election. Critics attacked Campbell for passing regulations that legalized short-term home rentals. She defended that action as a good compromise on a difficult issue. The recall backers said competing signature gathering campaigns and Campbell's low name recognition hurt their efforts. She's up for re-election next year. State lawmakers are considering a plan to slash the share of out-of-state and international students admitted into the University of California's system. The goal is to make room for more Californians. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says it comes in a record-breaking year for the UC, with more than 200,000 applicants vying for 46,000 freshman spots.
The state Senate has unveiled a proposal to reduce the proportion of non-resident incoming freshmen to 10% from the current system-wide average of 19%. The cuts would come over the next decade, beginning in 2022. Gariv Khanna is an assistant professor at UC San Diego who specializes in high-skill immigration, including international students.
What's been happening is that more revenue from international students has allowed universities to expand. The revenue from one more international student can actually help fund what we call cross-subsidize more local students coming to these universities.
The increasing difficulty of accessing a UCC at many campuses has frustrated thousands of California families after they've supported the university system with their taxes for years. Esther Barcoma has been a counselor at Escondido High School for 27 years. She says the college admissions process across California universities is growing more competitive.
So I feel like they have a lot more pressure than even 15 years ago as far as like what's expected from the college. They're getting at the same rate, but not necessarily in the places that they would like to get in.
The plan would replace the lost tuition from non-residents and cover the cost of additional California students to take their spots through state funds, beginning with $56 million next year and growing to $775 million by 2033. Khanna says part of the proposed plan is a good idea.
The current plan has certain attractive features, including expanding aid to local students, right? The current plan also has certain unattractive features, which is the part where it comes to capping international student flows.
UC officials say they share the goal of enrolling and graduating more California students and have added 19,000 more of them since 2015, but they oppose the 10% plan. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Surfers and swimmers off Torrey Pines State Beach had some unexpected company in the water on Memorial Day. A great white shark spotted from the shore. But KPBS reporter John Carroll says while the sighting was an unwelcome surprise for people in the water, it was not entirely a surprise to San Diego lifeguards.
It was around 2:30 Monday afternoon when lifeguards spotted it.
We did have a shark that did attack a sea lion. If you want to be out there, that's your choice.
A juvenile great white between 6 and 7 feet.
It wasn't showing any aggressive behavior to anyone in the water. There was no reports of bumping or someone around somebody. It was spotted chasing the marine mammal, trying to eat.
Lifeguards put up warning signs. Parents kept their kids safely on the sand.
Still kind of scary. We made sure like our kids, my daughter and our nieces and nephews that just kind of stay by the shoreline.
Because the shark wasn't acting in a threatening way toward humans, lifeguards did not close the beach. So if you're out on the water and you see what you think is a shark, Lieutenant Romero has one very simple and easy to remember piece of advice.
Stay safe and then definitely want to come into the beach and kind of let us know.
Lieutenant Romero says we can expect more sightings of great whites as we move through summer. And as far as the ecosystem goes, that's a very good thing.
There are definitely showing an increase in the population, which is great. They're part of the whole food chain.
A food chain that fortunately does not include humans. John Carroll, KPBS News.
There's something new for guests at the San Diego Zoo. Today, staff opened 2 brand new exhibits. One is for Komodo dragons, one of Earth's largest reptiles. Staff hope the new habitat will help the species breed, even if they might not be the best parents.
Once they hatch, they take off. They have to jump up in those trees, or their aunts and uncles will eat them for breakfast. Yeah.
We built something that I think is much more user-friendly, but it's also much better for the birds.
So that second comment is in reference to the brand new hummingbird habitat. It is located right next to the Komodo dragon space and hosts several species of hummingbirds along with other rare birds from North and South America.
The heat is on for much of California and really the western third of the country. We're going to be talking about the potential for some record-breaking heat for some of you. What I can guarantee is that near the coast, a morning fog in the clouds will be the name of the game over the next couple of days. But aside from that, no real rain in sight. Temperatures for tonight in the metro dropping back down into the mid-60s with, again, the increasing cloud cover that will stay with us during the overnight period. Oceanside dropping down to 60 degrees for tonight, 64 in San Diego, 62 in Chula Vista for that overnight low. In Borrego Springs only dropping off into the mid-70s. And I mentioned the fog and the clouds, and here we go. You can see it all builds in here during the overnight period, comes on shore early in the morning, but the rest of the day is going to turn out pretty nice. We're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine and some really, really warm temperatures. But the heat really does get locked in more towards central and northern portions of the state. Down here, it'll likely get hot, but it'll likely get hot a little bit later in the week. For your high tomorrow, in Escondido getting up to 82 degrees. Ramona is in the upper 80s. Borrego Springs in the triple digits, close to 110 degrees by the time we get to the middle of your work weekend. Not a whole lot of change here for your Thursday. I mentioned that heat is going to shift further south here for the end of the work week. So near the coast, temperatures generally sitting in the low to mid 70s, a little bit warmer than what we're typically used to, but not a whole lot of change. Further inland, temperatures go up into the mid 80s here over the next couple of days, and then by the end of the weekend, we start to cool things back down into the upper 70s. And in the mountains, temperatures are a little bit warmer as well. Today into tomorrow, we're going to get into the upper 70s. After that, it's a slow but steady drop back down into the upper 60s by the time we get to Saturday. But one place where the heat is locked in is in the desert. We're talking triple-digit heat here over the next 5 days. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
Today marks the beginning of Pride Month, a time to recognize and celebrate the LGBTQ community. The San Diego Unified School District held a flag-raising ceremony of the Rainbow Pride and Trans Pride flags to mark the occasion. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria, the city's first openly gay mayor, joined students and educators for the event. The superintendent says the flags symbolize the district's commitment to promoting safe and affirming school spaces for LGBTQ students, their families, and staff.
We will not stop until we meet the needs of all of our students. Each and every one of our students should be able to stand here, stand firm on their beliefs of who they are and who they want to be.
San Diego Pride events are held every July. Because of the pandemic, most will be virtual again this year, although a few events will be held in person. The San Diego Public Library kicks off its summer reading program today. KPBS education reporter Joe Honk spoke to one librarian about how reading can help children of all ages readjust to the post-pandemic world.
With this year's Reading Challenge, San Diego's librarians are hoping children will be able to explore new worlds after a year of being stuck at home. Emily Derry is the public library's Youth and Engagement Coordinator.
The theme is Reading Colors Your World. So it encourages readers to be creative, try new things, explore art, and find beauty in diversity.
Participants can earn prizes by finishing 10 books or reading for 10 hours, or they can join a variety of activities like virtual story times.
They're really kind of literacy-based activities, but they include, writing a letter to someone, telling a story aloud to someone, so appreciating, oral storytelling, and watching a movie adaptation of a book read.
Prizes include books and free passes to several San Diego museums. Derry hopes this year's program can boost reading skills, especially in those students who have fallen behind this year.
Before the pandemic, we already knew that in the summer following third grade, for example, students lose nearly 20% of their school year gains in reading. And that loss can increase with age through elementary and middle school.
The summer reading program is open to children of all ages. Participants can sign up online or at one of 25 city library branches. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
The holiday weekend marked the unofficial start to summer, and we're seeing more Americans traveling, celebrating, and spending as if they're making up for some lost time. As Mary Maloney reports, experts say it all points to not only a return to normal, but a massive rebound this summer.
Get ready for a hot vax summer. As more Americans get vaccinated, they're going on vacation, dining out, and spending that cash. All signs that summer is returning to normal.
This summer and then on into 2022, our travel bookings were already really robust.
Here's the first sign. Flight fares are flying high. According to the country's major airlines, airfare costs are near or even above pre-pandemic levels. And experts say the pent-up demand is driving up the costs.
Pack your patience because airports are going to be more crowded and you're going to be there with travelers who maybe haven't traveled in a year, so they're a little rusty. So the TSA lines might be a little long and a little slow.
Sign number 2, people are headed back to restaurants. According to data from OpenTable's reservations platform, the percentage of seated customers at U.S. restaurants open for reservations is hovering just below pre-pandemic levels.
People wait 2.5, 3 hours to eat here, and it's nice that people want to come see us again and wait that long to enjoy food with us.
And 3, happy hour is back. Alcohol sales are leveling off after an explosive 2020, but people are still drinking, with experts predicting hard liquors, spiked seltzers, and champagne will be this summer's most popular beverages. Number 4, people are dressing up. Chains like H&M, Anthropologie, and Macy's say demand for dresses has increased. Government retail sales numbers from March show an 18.3% jump in clothing sales from the previous month. And finally, concerts are back. Lollapalooza, the Chicago-based music festival, is returning this summer at full capacity. It's one of several multi-day festivals making a comeback this summer after being canceled last year due to the pandemic. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
And speaking of making a comeback, Coachella is making a comeback in 2022. Today, organizers of the music festival announced it will be held from April 15th through the 17th, as well as the 22nd through the 24th. That's of next year. Coachella has been postponed or even canceled several times throughout the pandemic. Advance ticket sales start on June 4th, although the lineup of musical acts has not yet been announced. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.